All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Very excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us. My name is Brad Cooper. I'm from ClientWise. Thank you for joining us for the How to Get More from Tax Season webinar. And I'm joined by Lee Reams, from the CEO of ClientWise. Lee, go ahead and say hello.
Hey, hello, Brad. I'm excited for today.
Very good. Thanks, everyone, again. So if we've been a little in and out on the audio today, so if we do drop a little bit, bear with us. It is the internet, and it is the GoToWebinar software. So hopefully you all can hear us okay. If we drop for any extended period of time, you can let us know on the little chat there. But hopefully we're good to go. So we're into December, and we're 30 days away from tax time. And so today we're going to really give you some good tips on how to prepare for tax season, and then once you're into tax season as tax and CPA, tax accountants and CPAs, some really good tips for you to help build your practice, build your brand, build your marketing, and have a great tax season. So we're excited. Get ready to roll here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go through really quickly, try to keep up because I do go through this section fairly fast. We're going to go through just the housekeeping item. So this is a 50-minute webinar. We will have some time at the end for Q&A. If you do need to leave a little bit early, that's fine, or excuse me, if you need to leave right at 50 minutes, that's fine, I should say. But you do want to stay at least until 50 minutes, and I hope you would stay longer because we're going to have some special offers just for you, and the 50-minute time is also required for CPE for CPAs. The webinar will be recorded and it's available for playback, so you can share it with your friends and colleagues. We hope you would. We hope you would share it on social media as well. If you do have questions, you are in listen-only mode, but you can use the little GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar chat box that's there on the right-hand side. You just open that up, and you should be able to use that. It is preferable to use the telephone, but you can also use the mic and speakers. There are some handouts. There's a couple of handouts there. Wendy, who's on our operations team, is also going to be sending you some links via chat here shortly. And if you do need tech support, there's the link to Citrix, who can help you with any technical issues you may have. This webinar is designed for US-based small tax and accounting practices predominantly. If you're international or you're a bigger firm, there's still some great tips in here for you. And so please continue to join us if you'd like, but that's what the bulk of the presentation will be about, with some marketing and branding for those types of firms. And our quick disclaimer here, we're not attorneys, so do consult your governing bodies or legal representation for any ethics types issues or legal marketing type issues. So about our presenters. So Lee Reams, our CEO, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, Lee.
Yeah, my name is Lee Reams. I've been in the tax accounting vertical most of my career, originally through our company Image One, which we built up to a little over 40,000 customers until we sold that off to Greatland some years ago to really work on the digital side. So ClientWise and obviously our product TaxBuzz now are kind of our new thrust into the online world, and we've been really working hard on our platform and a lot of the ideas and practices that we're going to talk to about today. So we hope you enjoy the information we pass along.
Very good. Thank you, Lee. And again, my name is Brad Cooper, another executive here at ClientWise. I've been in the technology space, including marketing technology, for many years, and specifically have helped thousands of small accountants and tax practices and other types of professional services firms with their digital marketing for many years, and it's what we do here at ClientWise, and we love doing it, and looking forward to getting into the content today. So real quick, again, the CPE credit for CPAs through CPA Academy, you should get lots of information from them. If you came to the webinar through CPA Academy, you also, if you came through us, through ClientWise, you can get credit, at the link that we'll send you after the webinar. You'll get an email from us with all the details that you need to get the CPE credit. And so about the webinar, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to discover some ways to get your firm's marketing ready for the tax season. And so you're going to get some tips on generating testimonials and 5-star reviews. You're going to hear a lot from us on that. It's something that's very important these days. We're also going to give you 6 key goals to accomplish during the tax season. And we'll go through those here. And hopefully, after all is said and done, you're going to come away with some real practical next steps that you can apply right to your own practice right away. So that's what we're going to cover today. And real quick about ClientWise, as Lee said, we help thousands of tax and accounting practices around the country with their digital marketing. And so things like websites, content marketing, search engine optimization, social media, all the things to build your brand, build your reputation online, to grow your practice and communicate with your clients and serve your clients. So that's about us. And then one of the things that we're big believers in as well is education. So webinars like this. We also have a great blog. Wendy hopefully is going to send you, if she hasn't already, some links to both our ClientWise and our TaxBuzz blogs. We have lots of white papers. We have CPE ourselves and seminars and all kinds of great things. So that's about us. And so specifically today, getting into the agenda for today. So first, Lee is going to give you some great background to help prepare you for the tax season, things like how clients find you, some types of clients, and he'll go through different specific types of clients and how best to address them, and then things addressing, the tax season has some spikes and valleys, and he'll go through that with you. Then we'll talk a little bit about what we call the 4 stages of the tax season. So there's a stage where you're preparing, which is right now through December. There's an acquire and communicate with your client stage in January to February, and then you're kind of heavy into the work of tax season, serving your clients, and then after that there's after tax. So we'll talk about each of those different 4 stages and things that you can concentrate on during each of those times to help prepare your season, or for the season. And then, as I said earlier, we're going to go through some goals, some very specific goals that you can help, we can help you, and hopefully you can accomplish during tax season as we go forward here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lee, who's going to talk about some background.
All right, thanks, Brad. So I'm going to put through a bunch of bullets here, but my intro here is the majority of prospects' purchase decisions are completed before ever reaching out to you by phone. So meaning they listen to recommendations, they view your website, and most importantly, they read online reviews. So what are some of the ways that these type of interactions occur? Obviously, referrals, word of mouth, people receive your email newsletters, they find you through the search engines. Social media is a growing area. Obviously, a large group of your clients are online. It's a great way to converse with clients and really help your relationships. Reviews on sites like TaxBuzz, Yelp, Thumbtack, there's all kinds of review sites now that are becoming more and more important. They find you through PR, press releases, guest blogging. I write for Forbes.com, and it's a great way to kind of build your authority and really find new channels for people to find you. So a little bit of the importance of client reviews, and we use reviews to do a few things with our clients. One, it's a great way to build up your search engine optimization. So meaning reviews are a big part, and Brad's going to talk about this later, but reviews are a big part of how the search engines rank your brand. So the more positive reviews, the more people are talking about you, the more it's going to influence your overall ranking when they compare you to your competition. The other thing that's really important here is, people trust reviews. Very few people make buying decisions anymore without looking at what other people say about a product or service. So whether it's Amazon.com, whether it's TripAdvisor, whether it's accounting firms, tax preparers, they're going to look at what people say about you online. So we always look at the scientific side and what analytics and what people are saying. So some surveys here, 74% say positive reviews make me trust a business more. That is something that is a huge factor in when someone does visit your site or your brand, whether or not they decide to call you. So kind of that beginning comment I made, the majority of people are already doing this due diligence about you already. So the web has made things very transparent. So I'm going to kind of walk through the other side of this. 84% of people trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation, and that is kind of the biggest change in the way the world works. So their friends or family or colleague may refer you to somebody, and that was kind of the way it was in the old days. Now they're saying, hey, I'm going to not only get that referral, but I'm going to go research it on my own to kind of validate it. So I think it's a huge importance to kind of the way the web works today. The other thing is how Google and reviews kind of work together. So I kind of have a couple of comments here. If you establish your brand as having one positive trait, meaning you're really good at something and people are talking about you, prospects are more likely to believe that your other qualities are more positive as well. So in other words, they subconsciously form a positive bias on you. So if a lot of people are talking positively about you, it's going to affect the way they judge your brand and you as an influencer. It's going to affect how much you can charge, how often someone refers people to you, and how many clients or visitors to your website you convert. So the bottom line is that you can kill it in one area, and it's easier to improve your overall public perception and thrive in other areas. So meaning if you can get a bunch of reviews and clients looking at your tax preparation skills or your business startup and really start building your profile, it's going to help your overall ranking. So Google My Business now is becoming more and more prominent as far as making sure you have your site optimized, and it is now added down here. So on the screen capture, reviews from the web, Google now is showing third-party review sites in their Google My Business listing. So if you have a profile that has no reviews or worse, negative reviews, people that are looking for you and Googling your brand, this is one of the first things they're going to see. So not taking reviews seriously is really going to affect your overall marketing results. So background here, types of tax clients. And I think this is something that everyone should kind of step back and really just look at it in a basic way. But where are your tax clients coming from? Are they first-time filers? Are they switchers, meaning did they have a bad experience doing a DIY, or they had a bad experience with another professional? But the real way a lot of people change or decide to change their filing status or their method is through life events. So major life events like a home sale, a purchase, a marriage, divorce, obviously. Did they have children? Did they need to start saving, 529 plans and saving for education? Do their withholding? Is there, different tax credits, things like that? Job changes, moving from one state to another, increases or decreases in income or asset, health issues. These are all elements that kind of put together the type of tax clients. And obviously, as people become entrepreneurs and start owning businesses, their needs obviously have changed dramatically. So these are kind of important things to really start thinking about as far as the type of clients that you're looking for. So this is a chart we had. Google actually did a lot of this research, and it's kind of obvious as far as the motivating factor of what people use when deciding to work with a preparer versus doing it themselves. So price is obviously the biggest factor for the DIY side. They kind of are more, price-sensitive people are more trying to cut corners and do the DIY. Life events or recommendations kind of push people towards tax preparation. So these are all important things to understand as you kind of go through and figure out where you're going to get new clients. So one of the things we did is put together a list, and this is from data from 2 years ago, so this is from 2014. But just think of the size of the people who are now in your mix to becoming clients. So 5.4 million people bought a home, 2.1 million people got married, 40 million changed jobs, and that was 2014, but it still applies here. 2.4 million people started a family, and more importantly here, 3.5 million entered the workforce for the first time. So there's obviously millions and millions of Americans who are going through major life changes each year. You need to develop your content and even your message, and kind of, we'll go over this later on, but it's why you want to be available year-round, because all of these life events do not occur during tax season. So you put all your marketing into January to February, and yet these life events are happening all year round, so you were absent from being in front of these people during those times when they actually need you. So I think it's an important thing to kind of sit back and think, this is a year-round business, not just a tax season business. So kind of walk this through. Let me back up there again. There is something about age and how Americans file their returns, and the DIY space is getting more and more crowded. You have Credit Karma just launched a free tax filing service this morning. They announced it. So there's a lot of, the TurboTax world, kind of the H&R Block world. But if you look at the way the age work here, you'll see obviously older clients are going. The green is the tax preparation. I have an accountant file my taxes. The blue is kind of the DIY world. So I think the goal here is to kind of understand, yes, the aging, the older clientele, they have more income, they have more complexity. They're obviously choosing to work with accountants. But I think a lot of what we need to do as a profession is to really start communicating the value that we provide. So really get out there and kind of, we just did an article on TaxBuzz that was all the different faux pas, so to speak, that DIY people use, and the money they're losing out on by not knowing, the tax law. So I think it's important to understand that side. The other thing is, let's look at when people are actively searching for new preparers. So this is a Google search for tax preparer. The spikes, it's obvious. When is it? It basically starts January 21. The big spike goes through February 7. That's a lot of the quick refund, I want my money type of market. That obviously will be a little bit different with the delays and refunds this year, but you'll see the spikes then go through April 15th and kind of go down. But the majority of your marketing and the majority of the opportunities for people to be found in search is going to be through that 3 to 4 week period, right as tax season starts. So let's talk a little bit about the tax season searches. The peak, January 1 through February 15th, we showed you in that chart exactly when it was. It doesn't spike again until April 15th. But the moral of the story here is, in order to be found online, you need to optimize your presence online for your brand. It takes at least 90 days of effort before it starts paying off in the search results. So waiting until January 1 to take this seriously and to start optimizing and using some of the SEO strategies we're talking about is kind of a big mistake. You're going to be behind the ball right away. The most popular search terms: tax preparer, tax accountant, tax service, best tax preparer reviews. Surprise, surprise. We still have people that kind of doubt, do I need reviews? Do I put my head in the sand kind of thing? This is absolutely the new way people use the internet and the web to find professionals. So the moral here is, you need to market year-round. You need to use your newsletters, your social media, your website needs to be strong, and obviously your review profile needs to be strong. And we'll talk about that later, but we'll kind of get into, after this next poll question, Brad's going to get into a lot of the more technical side of the SEO, and I think those are things where you should try to take notes and kind of really pay attention to. So Brad, I'll go ahead and hand that off to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lee. So the slide that Lee just had a minute ago, I'm going to go back to it real quick here, just in terms of the peaks of when people are searching related to the poll question here. The first poll question, we'll have 4 total. 3 we're definitely going to get to before 50 minutes, and you definitely need to do the first 3. The 4th one I hope you would do as well, but it's that one is technically optional, but you should do all 4 poll questions. Okay, here's the first one. We'll go ahead and launch that. And you should see the poll question on your screen here in a second. And okay, so what is the peak month for people in the U.S. to search online, for tax preparers? Is it July? Not sorry, not what is it? Is it July? True or false? So the peak month for people in the U.S. searching online for tax preparers, true or false? It's July. Okay, and I'm just going to give you all a few minutes to do that. It looks like we're almost at 90% of you have completed that poll question. Give it a few more seconds. Please go ahead and complete it. And I'm going to count down here. 3, 2, hurry up and vote if you haven't already. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that one. Okay, so, and let me go ahead and share that. The results of that, you all did well, it looks like. So 91% said false, which is the correct answer. January is really the peak into early February is the peak for searches online, and Google in particular is the one that Lee showed for people who go to the internet and are looking for tax preparers. It's January sort of to mid-February. So okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that one. And okay, and so on to the next part here. So I talked a little bit earlier about the 4 stages of the tax season and how you can prepare and some things you can do during each of those 4 stages. Okay, so the preparation stage really is now, and you really only have technically a few weeks, maybe 3 to 4 to 6 weeks at most, where everything really needs to be in place. And so your timing on joining the webinar today is very good. There's still things you can do. There's some things, it's probably for next year. And the second stage is acquiring new clients, scheduling clients in for appointments, kind of January to mid-February, serving them. You're obviously serving them all year round, but kind of the meat of it gets in, February to mid-April. And by the way, it's April 18th. I'm sure you all know that this year is the deadline. And then after April 18th, and Lee is going to talk a little bit about some of the things you can do after tax season and then all year round. So, and then it's a constant process. So in the preparation stage now through the end of this month, A lot of things you can still do. It's not too late. If you have waited until now, the good news is there are things you definitely can do to get ready. And as far as online marketing, a few things that are really critical for your tax practice or accounting practice is to have some good core marketing online, and that starts with the website, a professional, mobile, responsive website, lots of good content. It looks professional. It doesn't look like it's from 1997. It looks good. It presents your brand well, has lots of great content, a blog, things that are updated. Social media is more and more important. And by the way, Wendy probably sent you links to our prior webinars. We have lots of webinars where we talk through each one of these different aspects of marketing. So I'm not going to dive into a lot of details on each one of these, but these are things that you should take a look at. Spruce up, clean up your website, make sure the contact information is correct, make sure you have office hours during tax season presented on your website. If there are tax organizers or other things that your clients will need during tax season, be sure those are on your website. Social media, again, is a great way to not only acquire clients or prospective clients, as well as communicate with the clients that you have. So if you have changes in your hours or something like that during tax season, you can do things like emails, you can do things like, update your website, update your social media. And then as Lee talked about, get some reviews if you can, because, you're going to be heavy into the season. There are some ideal times. Now is, for some clients, may not be the best time, but for some it will. If you have clients who in the prior seasons and you've worked with them for a long time, now is still a great time to reach out to them. We have some emails that we actually send on behalf of our clients that are built in, and I could talk about that in a minute. But there's lots of ways to get reviews, but to build up that review base for you as you enter the season. So if people are searching on Google, they're searching on TaxBuzz, looking for a professional, even if you get a referral, we're going to talk about that in a second, now is the time. Get some reviews, at least 5 to 10 reviews on TaxBuzz, on Google. It's a good number of sites, and we'll talk about more of that in a minute. And then, just spruce up on, you're obviously doing the CPE course, and it's required, but just make sure you know all the upcoming changes in tax law as we enter the new year. That's very important as well. And so next, talk a little bit about search optimization and search engines and showing up in Google and what's important there. And, as I said, we have a whole section of some of our prior webinars, and there's a lot of information in those about some of the things that are important to show up on Google, to show up on other search engines. Here are a few things. So over on the screen there, you'll see something called, it's a site called Moz, and they just track the things that are important to Google in terms of things that you can do for your business to help you show up in those search engines. And so there's some ranking factors, things like whether you have a Google My Business page, how many reviews you have. That is that's a big chunk of the pie there. Review, they call it signals. Social signals. So do you have social media sites, your website itself? The important thing here is that, yes, your website is important. However, these days, more and more, Google and other search engines are looking for content, looking for information about you and your firm and reviews off of your website on other sites. So you need to be on social media, you need to get the reviews, but then also things like what we call citations, so links back to your site from quality sites. We have some services where we help our clients get on thousands of sites, and there's other people you can pull in and partners that you can pull in on marketing to help you do that, but that's important as well. And especially the Google My Business page, as Lee showed you earlier, make sure you claim that, you verify it. That's pretty critically important, especially for Google and showing up on maps, things like that. Okay, so, and then, other factors, content, so making sure your services are there on your website, your business name is there and it's correct and it's consistent across all the different sites that you're on. Things like your staff name and your bio. People like to do business with people, especially when it comes to personal things like taxes or important things like business accounting and taxes. They want to see the people they're working with. So something as simple as that, having your name or the principal's names on your website. What niches and industries and services you provide, who you serve, so that if somebody comes to your site or they see you online, not only as a professional, not only do you have testimonials and reviews, but they say, okay, this accountant specializes in what I do and my needs and my, as Lee said, my different life changes. There's somebody that can help me. So the more that your online presence speaks to those things and talks to those types of clients, the better likelihood you will have to sign them up. And then things like technology, making sure your website is mobile friendly, it loads quickly. There's some other more technical things like meta tags and things we call NAP settings, name, address, and phone number, making sure those are there and readable by Google and other search engines. So lots of details there, and this is an ongoing thing. So that's one kind of key point I want to drive home. Some people say, hey, I just need to be online and have my website up during tax season, and then I don't care so much. Well, Google and other search engines, it takes months and sometimes years to build your online presence and to build your ranking so that you do show up when someone searches for somebody on Google or online during tax season. It takes a lot of preparation and a lot of work to get there. Obviously, having some of these things in place now is going to help you, but frankly, you really need to start, earlier and be there all year round. Okay, and so some other things that are important. I mentioned a lot of these review sites, directories, inbound links, citations, PR, as Lee mentioned, as well as social media. Okay, moving on, and still getting prepared for the season. There's some things you can do to put tools in place to help automate your practice. And we provide a system, and there's a little screenshot of our system. It's kind of a CRM for you that helps automate a lot of these things. You obviously don't have to use us. There's a lot of other different tools that are available to you out there. But things that are in place, they're going to help automate some things so that if you get busy, clients still can communicate with you. So things like, is there somebody that's going to manage your website to update your hours if you need to? Is there going to be somebody constantly posting out to a blog, or do you have an automated blog system? Will email newsletters go out automatically? Social media, what's going to happen? We have some clients whose social media sites go dead for 4 months or something during tax season. It's like, are they still there? So make sure you have ongoing content that's going out to social media and other places, and do you have a system for a team or people who are going to do that for you? How are you going to handle the leads and prospects that come in during tax season? Are they emailed to you? Who's going to respond? What tools and technology are you using to make sure that those prospective clients who are reaching out to you via email or via your website are going to get a response from someone, or going to get a phone call? Things like a client portal, a secure client portal. If you're still sharing documents via email, especially if it has your client's social security numbers or tax documents, don't be doing that. You should have some kind of a secure client portal, because you don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to get your clients in trouble. Identity theft is rampant. Please use some kind of, and again, we have it. There are other tools that are out there. Electronic signature has also become very popular for tax documents, for clients to be able to sign virtually, so you don't have to worry about faxing, you don't have to worry about mailing, coming into the office even. There's a lot of virtual accountants that we work with now these days that are almost entirely virtual, who do everything electronically. And so finding some tools that you can set up to help you do that. Appointment scheduling as well, having that online. And so having a way for clients to book a consultation with you or book some kind of a meeting using your website is a huge time saver for you, and also your front desk staff if you have them, or if you don't, then it's you. And automated reminders that can go out to your clients as well. And so you don't have to spend a lot on these tools. They're pretty cost effective. Our tools are cost effective. Some others are out there as well. But in terms of the efficiencies they provide and the time that it saves you, really, good to get all of these things in place you have before tax season. We actually have a free trial, so if you want to try ours out too, you can. And so there's more information on that, and we can tell you more about that if you just wanted to try ours out. Okay, and so people and processes to prepare for tax season. I talked about it a little bit, but obviously make sure you have your office hours posted and your staff set up and ready to go. Phone coverage, okay, is the next item on my list in terms of people and processes. I can't stress this enough. To make sure you have, if it's going to be you're going to have some kind of coverage. If you're busy with clients, you're in meetings, you're doing client work, who's going to answer the phone? Very critical, because especially for new clients and existing clients as well, if, let's say, someone does go to Google, they find you, they say, okay, this person looks good, let me call them, and it goes to your voicemail. And they really want to get a tax person set up. They're researching, they want to get it done, and what do you think they're going to do next? They're going to go to the next accountant they find on Google or on TaxBuzz or somewhere else. So if it goes to your voicemail. So, an assistant, a virtual assistant, there are virtual answering services these days. At a minimum, that at least will get the client's name, phone number, maybe tell them a little bit about the practice, maybe even book an appointment for you over the phone, which is the best thing to do. And then things like email communication as well. So not only, so let's say you get a lead in, you need to call that lead right away, or somebody does, and also send them an email and some automated drip emails or automated emails that can go out to the your prospects that come in to keep you in front of them, so that hopefully you can get an appointment with them and bring them into your office. So that prospect follow-up is really critical for you when you get busy. Who's going to do that, and what tools do you have, and what staff will be in place? Things like online forms and tax organizers, with a lot of clients who use those. We have some, again, you don't have to use ours, but we have some great tax organizers, things that will help collect information from clients so that you at least have a base of what you're dealing with during, so if you do meet with them and you get into getting ready to file for them, you have information from them about those life changes that Lee mentioned ahead of time. And then onboarding with the clients, documents they need to sign, just make it a great experience. Make it look like you have your act together, hopefully. Even if you're frantic and you and your staff are pulling your hair out and you're super busy, the more you can make your clients feel at ease, the better. And so in order for them to feel at ease, you obviously need to feel at ease. And so get some of these things in place if you can to help you. And I mentioned the scheduling and the file sharing and electronic signatures. And then the last point here to set up your processes now is how are we going to get reviews and when from our clients? Because that's going to be, you're going to see at the end, one of your key goals is going to be related to reviews, the 6 goals I'm going to give to you. How do you get those 5 to 10 to 20 reviews? Normally we say, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but how are you going to do it? What's the tools? Who are going to, who is going to ask for those reviews from your clients and when? Okay, so the next poll question, I'm going to go ahead and launch that now. And again, hopefully if you're paying attention, these poll questions should be pretty good, pretty easy, should be able to do them. Okay, so the next poll question is true or false, is it better to wait until January to start preparing your marketing and communications? Is it better to wait until January, or should you really be doing it all year? So is that true or false? Better to wait just wait until January, really when you need it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave this poll question open for just a little bit more. Looks like we have about 90% who voted. Please go ahead and vote if you haven't. I'm going to go ahead and close it in 3, 2, 1. All right, good job. Everyone's paying attention. Yes, you do. Excuse me. No, you do not want to wait until January. You want to be marketing yourself, all year round, and you want to get those things in place, sooner the better. Sooner you can do that, the better. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share those, but 97% got that correct, so good work. Okay, so now we're going to get into the next phase, which is acquiring new clients, scheduling clients, getting people in the door. And again, as I said, especially for prospects, your best thing you can do is get somebody on the phone, book an appointment to come in and see you, or get you over the phone. Say, hey, and work virtually. Get their documents electronically. Don't need to meet with you. Obviously, the best thing to do is have a live conversation with them, whether that's over the phone or in person. So quickly respond to your leads. So if you get an inquiry from your website, from something like TaxBuzz, and you're going to get these kinds of notices. So with our system, we make it very easy. It can be just an email as well, but for our notices, you actually can click on little buttons there that will send out emails to those prospects. But the biggest thing is to call them. Call them more than once if you can, because again, your clients are busy too. Your prospective clients and clients are very busy themselves. They may not pick up the phone when you call them back. If you don't hear back from them, maybe wait a day or two and then call them back again. The more you call, and the worst that can happen is they can say, hey, you know what, I found somebody already, thanks anyway. Or they may say, you know what, whatever, they may say, you don't need to call me anymore, whatever it is, that's fine. The worst thing you can do, though, is not call them. And then the second thing, worst thing you can do is only call them or email them once. And we have some automated tools that will help you call and email more than once. But you need to, you need to get some processes in place so that you're able to do that, because it's going to make you much more likely. There's lots of data that shows the quicker that you call right after you get the lead, I mean, it's exponentially higher chance that you will have to bring that client on, bring that prospective client on as a client. So as I said, we do have some automated emails from our system. If you get a lead in, they'll get messages on day 1, day 3, day 7, day 10, different messages about your practice and why you might be the best fit for them. And then, as I said, utilize that online appointment scheduling app if you have one, and if you don't, definitely highly recommend getting that as well. And as I said, get them into the office if you can. That's the key thing. So, okay, continuing through January, these are questions we get quite often, and I'll talk about it a little bit now, and then I also in the Q&A I'll get to it as well. We get a lot of questions about should I do paid advertising during that time. So whether it's Google AdWords or Facebook ads or offline marketing like postcards and all kinds of things people ask about in terms of the marketing. Ideally, over time, our biggest suggestion is going to be getting clients the way that is tried and true, but now there's an internet way to accelerate it, which is referrals. And so if you build up your practice, your brand, your reputation, you get those reviews, you get on search engines, you have a great site, all of the things that we recommend, ideally, you're going to get clients through referrals, but guess what? They're still going to go to the internet. They're still going to search for you online. So that is still going to be our #1 recommendation. Build up yourself in your practice and not necessarily pay for advertising. I'm going to mention TaxBuzz, however, just because it's our product and it's very affordable and it's focused on helping you build your reputation. It is free to use TaxBuzz, but there's a paid way that you can get in front of more clients. So that's one that I'm obviously going to recommend. But if you do want to do advertising, we can talk about it a little bit more offline or towards the end. There are some things that are effective, but even if you do advertising and you send them to your website or something like that, those people who click through the ads are still going to be looking for testimonials and reviews. So that's important whether you do advertising or not. Okay, the third question, poll question. So which of the following, and we'll get it launched here, and it might take a second to show up. Okay, it's coming. There it is. Okay, so which of the following can be automated? So I talked about a lot of these different things that could be automated by your practice. Is it posting to your blog, email newsletters, posting to social media? Pretty much I think I covered all of those, or all of the above. So which of those things can be automated using online technologies and tools? And so we only have about 80% who voted so far, so hopefully that's loading. It might take a second if it hasn't loaded for you yet. Hopefully it will. Okay, now there we go. I see some more people who are responding to the poll. Which of the following can be automated? Posting to your blog, email newsletters, posting to social media, or all of the above? And we're about 90%. I'm going to give it a few more seconds here. Please respond if you haven't already. 3, 2, 1. Going to go ahead and close the poll. Again, congratulations, great job. Go ahead and share that. Looks like about 95% of you chose all of the above, which is true. Again, there are different tools that are out there. We have tools. We can post to your blog. We have automated newsletters. We can post to social media 2 to 3 times a week with tax and accounting articles. And again, there are other services out there that do some similar things as well. I would challenge you to find somebody who does all of those things in one tool like we do, but anyway, we have that as well. Okay. So late January through April, this is as you're serving your clients, and let me go ahead and hide that. I think there we go. I need to hide the poll. And hopefully it's going to show my slide here in a second. And there it is. Okay. So serving clients. So as you get into the work, the thing that I want to stress, and we have a whole webinar on this, is providing excellent 5-star client service. And so I mentioned it as far as prospective clients and responsiveness. But obviously for your client, for the clients that you have, it's probably even more critical. So to be responsive, to provide clear and frequent communication. So occasionally we see bad reviews, if you want to call them that, or 1-star reviews come through on our site, TaxBuzz, as well as other sites. And one of the most common things we hear is the accountant never got back to me, or it took 2 weeks for the accountant to get back to me, or they didn't provide me any updates. I had no idea whether they submitted my return. I didn't know that they needed documents from me. I have no idea when I'm getting my return and my refund back. There's all kinds of complaints around that, and that's the thing that you want to do well. And so being responsive when you can, having these systems in place so that you can be responsive, provide clear, frequent communication, be positive, be friendly, all the things that you would expect in terms of providing good service, something very important to do during that time. And again, we have a whole webinar on this if you want to check out one of our other videos on this topic of 5-star service. The other thing you can do during the tax season, or somebody on your team can do, is get some, take some photos. Now make sure you say that you get your clients okay on it, but when they come in, we have this thing we call the social accountant, and we have clients who are using it, and there's these lobby cards that we have, and you can ask us about those after the call, and we could talk to you more about it, but this is great content for your social media. Sometimes, for some clients, this might be the only time they do come into the office, and so if they have kids, we've got the cutest little tax deduction ever there photo that you can see there as an example, but a great time to have some good, engaging, fun. It's a way to liven it up, a way to have a little fun. People don't have fun usually with taxes, right? Most people. I'm sure all of you on the phone do, but for your clients, maybe it's not a fun experience. So let's make it fun, make it enjoyable, have some cookies, have whatever it is to make it a fun experience. Take a photo while they're there. It helps you through social content. And then the last key thing is getting reviews. Once you've finished with a client is a great time to send them a quick note that says, hey, would you mind, my business is built on my reputation. Would you mind visiting my TaxBuzz page, or would you mind visiting my Google page, to get, to leave a testimonial for me? So that's a good time to do it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lee with the post deadline.
All right, thanks, Brad. I thought I was forgotten there a little bit, but I love this section, and it's one slide. I'm going to talk quite a bit about it in some respects, and I think we should change April 18th to maybe like April 28th and beyond, because I think most of us like to have a nice vacation afterwards. But the real issue to me, this is where the 5-star practices separate themselves from those that really are kind of a seasonal, I come and go and I wonder why my business goes up and down. The practices that we see and work with that work really hard during the off season are the ones that are hugely successful during tax season, and quite honestly, they have higher retention rates, they have more referrals organically, and they charge higher rates. They're not looked at as a commodity because they have a relationship. So I have some talking points. There's a bunch of bullets here. I'm just going to let them come out, but my main thing that we see is most practices have no process for maintaining the relationship after tax season. We've talked about how you can automate your marketing, how you can use social media, your email newsletter, things like that, but a lot of practices just don't do it. The reality is consumers are attracted to influencers and authority figures. Our last election obviously showed how someone can use the social media, the media in general, and really push their agenda through these new tools. So if you're not using them, they obviously work. If you're not using them, it's kind of a mistake, and it's going to kind of hold you back from going to that next level. So a couple of thoughts, and I think this is important. It kind of follows the life events and things we talked about, but the needs of every business or taxpayer can change drastically in a matter of months, right? So you might be contacting someone for 6 months, you never hear from them, and in month 7, they decided to go out on their own and start a business, and they have a question on what type of business entity they should set up. If you had been in front of them and they'd been building trust with them and starting that relationship, guess who they call? They're going to be calling you, and that's why it's important the quote-unquote post deadline to really be engaging your client base. Circumstances change. Something that seemed unimportant to me 4 months ago might now be considered a priority. My marriage is on the rocks. I'm having issues. I need to really look at this. What is this going to do to me financially? So these are things you need to think about. And if you have not been staying in front of that prospect and continuing to build that relationship, the chances are you will never know when that need arises. So when that life event occurs, if you had been out there engaging with them, the likelihood of them calling you is much higher. So kind of the way I look at it, the longer you stay in front of the prospects, the larger return you will get over the long haul. And that's why we're saying, practices are built over years. Your relationship and your reputation is built over years. And with the internet, it rewards people that establish that, that have a ton of content, that have been around, that have a lot of good reviews, that are mentioned through citations across the web. So these are things that really drive successful practices. So these are some of our favorites. We have been using these proven kind of, obviously thank clients for their business. Communicate with clients about deadlines. I mean, some of these are just no-brainers, but a lot of people flat out don't do it. After tax season is a great time to ask for reviews. That's when, you've hopefully done a great job, you're top of mind, and, people, if they like you, they want to help you. They get it. They understand the way the world works. And, we have people with 50, almost 100 reviews that, just by asking and getting out there in front of clients have really built these 5-star, reputations. Go be active out there. Follow your clients on social media. Keep them informed throughout the year with, automated email newsletters. Don't do selling. It's all education. It's information. It's things that really would apply to them. And by using content around the life events, you might speak to people, during that off season that, may not have been aware that, what just happened to them does have tax consequences. Social media is getting bigger and bigger. As these marketplaces close, it's becoming more and more important that your brand is way beyond just a website. We say this all the time. It takes much more than a website to be found online. And if you're launching a website and you just think, okay, I'm done. Why am I not ranked? Why am I not getting new business? Well, we just went through this whole 50-minute presentation on it's what people are saying about you offline. It's so many other elements, and you really have to understand that if you want to be successful. So again, life events happen year-round. Referrals obviously happen year-round, and now with our second tax season through October 15th, there's a lot of opportunities for you. The one thing I wanted to add before I take it over to Brad again is any questions, go ahead and start lining those up now. We do spend some time afterwards and would love to engage and answer as many as we can. So through the GoToWebinar question area, please answer those as you can. But go ahead, Brad, and take it over.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lee. All right, we're going to go ahead and do our, actually, sorry, I got to help myself. Okay, one last slide, and then we're going to do the last poll question. Okay, so we talked to you about this earlier, that these are some goals that you could set for yourself to accomplish during tax season. And so the very first one would be to strengthen your communications and marketing, so especially your online marketing and communications. So things like your website, things like having an automated blog set up, automated email marketing set up, automated social media set up, a client portal to exchange documents with clients digitally, electronic signature tools. So have your core, what we call the core set of marketing, all set up and ready to go. With us, it actually, believe it or not, it only takes a few days to set all this up for you. So if you talk to us, usually about 3 to 5 business days, we can have an actual website built for your firm and have the email marketing set up and give you logins for your staff, for your client portal and things like that. So there still is time, not much more time. So I would say don't wait, get started. We'd love to talk to you right after this webinar to get it set up. So don't wait, but please do what you can to set up these tools. So that's your first goal, is to set up your core marketing and communications, your marketing and your client communications. And so, through providing a 5-star practice service, retain your clients. So work really hard to get 80 to 90% of your prior year tax clients back in again this year, and hopefully again next year. And so hopefully that goal is, you can accomplish that. That's a good goal to have for this year and next. And as I said, one way to do that, or one of the primary ways to do that, is by delivering a 5-star experience to every client. So there's a lot of details, and that's easier said than done, I realize. But some of the tips we gave you hopefully will help you accomplish that. Increase your fees collected. So you can do that obviously a couple of ways. You can actually get more clients in, or you can get a different set of clients in. And a lot of our clients over the years, that's what they tend to do. The beginning, you kind of want to build up your practice, so you have lots of different types of clients that come in and you work with. And then over time, you see what types of work you like to do, and you sort of migrate up. I don't want to call it a higher level client, but you can kind of get a small business owner, a higher net worth individual, if that's your focus, or maybe somebody in a specific industry, specific types of life issues, maybe IRS tax problems is your gig. But anyway, work to, because you're working hard and every year, and so maybe adding staff and growing the firm. So try to grow. And then these last 2 out of the 6 goals, are the things that we're really going to stress, which is the first one, try to get some photos with your clients you can post to social media. And then the last one is probably the most important out of everything we've talked about, which is getting a good number of 5-star client reviews. And those are the two sites, and we can talk to you in a minute about why. People are going to ask about Yelp, and they already have, and we'll talk about that in the question and answer. But we recommend, obviously, our site, and there's reasons for that, though. And we can talk, well, we're the #1 site for independent tax and accounting professionals in the United States right now. So we have millions of visits and all that, but Google My Business is another important one. Okay, so those are the 6 goals. You have those. Hopefully you can print that out, and you can post those on your wall. And then the last poll question, this is a lot. There's a lot of things we talked about, a lot of different tips. We'd like to invite you, and we only have a limited number of firms we can do this with, just for time's sake. So if you do want us to help you, go ahead and answer this poll question. And so I'm going to go ahead and launch it right now, which is, would you like us to help? Can we help you to look at the systems that you have in place? If you have specific review issues, like we've had some questions about Yelp and what to do with some reviews you may have gotten already. If you need help with the website, or if you need help to get some of that automation we talked about, or social media, or email marketing, or if you have questions, and again, you don't have to use us, we're always happy to just provide our advice. And so even if it's, hey, I'm considering this type of advertising, what do you think about that? Or, hey, can you take a look at my website? What do you think? Or, hey, I'm not showing up in Google, and we can sort of advise you on what some of the specific issues might be for you. So we'd love to help. So go ahead and answer yes. There's 2 options there. One is for us to get an expert actually on the phone. And again, these are limited. We really can only do it. I mean, frankly, I think we have almost over 1,000 people who've signed up for this webinar. So just to let you know, we do have a lot of interest in this topic. We'd love to help you. We probably can't help all of you. So if you do want help, I'd encourage you to say yes, and let's get that scheduled. And we have our own appointment scheduling as well, so if you'd like to use that. Okay. So, as Lee said, go ahead and start sending those questions in if you have them. I did want to let you know as well. Oops, I'm sorry. Here, I didn't close the poll. Let me do that. I'm going to go ahead and close it. Sorry if you didn't get a chance to vote on that one. That one is not technically required, and if you do want to email us about it and you still want some help, let us know. And I appreciate everyone who voted on that one, so thank you for doing that. I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, get back to the presentation. Okay, and then hide it. Okay, there we are. So I did mention special offers, so if you are on this webinar and you wanted to get some help from us, no better time to do that. We have a 20% off offer just for you, for the people on the webinar, for any new service with us. If you're a new client, if you're a new client, you get 20% off the first 3 months. And then if you are an existing client of ours, you still can get 20% off if you add a new marketing package, a monthly marketing package. Also with TaxBuzz, we'd love to talk to you about that more. We do for the paid version of TaxBuzz, TaxBuzz Pro. It's a great service. It's $100 off as well. It's $199 for the whole year. It's 55 cents a day. So I would definitely encourage you at a bare minimum to at least consider TaxBuzz Pro, but there's lots more we can do. And our packages, we have some pricing, I think, that's included in your package, and also no setup fees as well. We're waiting on all the setup fees. These do expire at the end of this month, so please contact us right away. You can see some of our packages and pricing. I mean, it starts at $69 and goes up, to $299 for what we call our virtual marketing director on a Whitney service. So those are some options for you. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and now and start taking start answering some of the questions. So I'm going to turn it over, Lee. I don't know if you've had a chance to look over some of them. If you wanted to go ahead and start taking some of those questions.
Yeah, no problem. And I will say we'll try to help everybody. So we're a little bit of a people pleaser kind of company. So any type of question, definitely reach out. So I'm going to start with Kathleen. She asked about the automated blog, email, social media, who writes the content. Assuming that's asking who writes our content. It's something that I try to communicate, to our staff, is the amount of work that goes into developing content in this industry is significant, because you can't just go and hire some inexpensive on-demand freelancer and expect them to understand complex tax code or even business entity selection, things like that. So we actually have a group of writers and both in-house and freelance people that we work with that help develop not just written content, but we do video content. We have producers that put that together. There's obviously licensing and images and all that, but it costs us about $250 to $300 per article in kind of the labor into the technical review, and that doesn't include then our high-level review that we go through. So any content that we put together, it goes through kind of 2 levels of review. One is grammar, the other is obviously the technical side. So, we look at the content we put out for clients. If you try to develop what we do, it's probably about $15,000 a year, a little over $1,000 a month minimum. And that, with the video, that's a whole nother game. But what we have seen as this content is read, it is engaged, it is a huge, it's not that hard to stand out in this business. You just need to be there. And a lot of times people think, this is a big investment, but really marketing should be, a big part of your practice if you want it to be a healthy practice and not kind of, worrying about that next month and where am I going to, how am I going to make ends meet? So it's an investment in yourself. So I hope, Kathleen, that was your question, and that's kind of my answer to that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lee. And so and I guess it was Edward, and I believe I saw one other question about this as well. So, so someone had asked about reviews and what happens if you get bad ones. What happens, if you get reviews on Yelp? What can you do about those if you've already gotten some reviews and maybe some of them are not so positive and some of them maybe even be 1-star reviews? Okay, so we can send a link to this, or I can follow up with you, or you can visit my LinkedIn profile. I did an article on my LinkedIn about this issue. And it's critical. You don't want to just wake up one day and you get an email and all of a sudden you see this notice from Yelp or some other site that you got a 1-star review from somebody, and you freak out and say, what do I do, and how did this happen, and who is this person? And you kind of, don't be in that position. The best position to be in, if you can, is to have lots and lots of positive reviews, and then that way, if you do get that 1-star review, it's a one-off. Maybe, you can't please everyone. So, if you've been in practice long enough, if you've served enough clients with the internet, with the amount of people, as Lee shared with you earlier, who are using reviews and leaving reviews, at some point you're going to get a review, and you don't want it to be the first one you ever get on any of these sites. You don't want it to be a 1-star. So proactively, obviously, having lots of good ones, and even if you get a bad one, there's lots of steps you can take, and in that article I outlined some. Obviously you don't want to just, rage and, start calling and emailing the person who did it, or, raging at the site, because it's not necessarily their fault. They're a service like our service is. Don't threaten to sue anybody. There's lots of things you don't want to do. Things you can positively do. You can try to work with the client. Maybe there was a miscommunication. You can try to work things out. I've seen it happen many times where clients have worked it out, and the client says, hey, you know what? Thank you for reaching out, and they take the review down or they change it or whatever. There's lots of steps you can take, and we can help you with that, and there's more detail in that blog article about that, but great question. But again, the thing you want to do is proactively get lots of great reviews, so that if that one bad one does come in, then it's a one-off, and you've got lots of things to counter it. Lee, do you want to take another one?
Yeah, so real quick, Robert asked a couple times. He said 6 tax season goals. He missed the number 6. So it was get 10 to 20 5-star client reviews on TaxBuzz and Google My Business. And you also can download the PDF. But again, we have found they're difference makers. Once you start getting reviews, the differences in the rankings is remarkable. And more importantly, when people Google your own name, what you want them to see is all 5-star reviews. You want to control kind of that look on Google, that your website should be on the top. On your right side is going to be your Google My Business listing. You want all of these reviews to show there, and then on below your website, you want all of these review sites. Again, I don't care what review site it is. Obviously, TaxBuzz gets highly ranked, but you want those review sites to show. So I hope that answers your question. I want to thank Tina for her nice comments. She's been working with us for a few months already and has really loved all the stuff we've done for her. And then she did say she accidentally asked for a consultation, so we'll make sure. Hopefully we don't call you, but thanks again, Tina, for that nice comment.
If we do, we'd be happy to talk to you anyway. But yes, thank you, Tina. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take another one real quick. And so we had Melissa ask about a second location, and it's a great question. And this is also true. And again, in one of our prior webinars, we went into this into some detail. So if this is for 2 situations. One, if you work from your home, and you don't want to necessarily put your internet out on the, your home address out on the internet, which I don't blame you. And then secondly, if you want to get into another city. So let's say you're in a real small town. I mean, a guy I talked to yesterday, an accountant, he was in a town of like 500 people, but he was nearby a town of 70,000. So if you wanted to get access to a bigger market, what can you do there? And as Melissa said, thanks for the question, Melissa, can you get an executive suite type thing? And yes, you can. So one of the things I would say not to do is to try to use a P.O. box, a post office box, because Google and other search engines don't like that. They in many cases won't recognize that as a real physical address. You can do things like a UPS store or postal annex or something like that, and you should be okay, or a virtual office executive suite type deal as well, things like Regis and Da Vinci, and there's others. And the other thing you can do is just share an office with like a law firm or something like that, where you can get mail from them, something non-competitive. And what that does is that it does allow you to either have a physical address, which you really do need, to show up on Google and the internet. Yeah, it's great that you're virtual, that maybe you work from home, but and this is for clients too. I mean, to have no address on your website, it kind of gives some clients a little, is this a legitimate business kind of a thing, kind of a feeling. So it's great for that, and it's good to get into a second market if you're either in a small market or you just want to try to capitalize on getting in a second market. Lee, you want to take another?
Yeah, I have one that I don't think I can answer. Donna had asked, how do you manage pricing for family members who think my service should be free or heavily discounted? That is the ongoing issue for all of us, and I would say every family member is different. But you obviously, being honest and transparent and kind of communicating, hey, this is all I can, all I'm doing for you. But honestly, I'm stumped on the exact perfect answer for that. But I just want to throw, I think that is kind of an interesting issue that everyone is dealing with. Mary said fire all family members. So I'm sure we could have a whole discussion on this on our own. Diego had asked about Google AdWords, and I'm going to start and let Brad is definitely our expert on AdWords. My feelings are a little bit different than his, but what I have seen in our experience with AdWords is it is a lot of people throw money away. They don't know how to build the campaigns. They're buying keywords that have nothing to do with them. They don't understand negative keywords. They don't understand. Basically, they're buying traffic that has huge bounce rates. So they're blowing through a lot of their budget. That's issue one. Issue two is once you do have someone who knows what they're doing, one of the biggest challenges we find is that the budgets are just not big enough. You need at least $1,000, $2,000. I know Brad, I think, said 500, but really it's $1,000 to $2,000 a month minimum to really get real traction. We do have clients that we have managed campaigns for. We're not an agency, but we have seen very successful results where they've had to basically shut down campaigns because they've gotten too busy. And a lot of that is more business clients. But it is definitely a big brand game. A lot of keywords are getting very expensive, and that's why we always recommend, everything we just taught you or showed you is relatively inexpensive and or free. It's just an effort of your side to really reach out. Social media is free. Getting content out via email is free. These are things that you should be doing way before you start tackling an AdWord campaign. And we've seen so many people just blow through money. But there's my quote-unquote quick read on that for Diego.
Okay, and yeah, I mean, and don't disagree with anything you said there, Lee. So we're completely on the same page. Yeah, it's very expensive, especially during the tax season. You're also competing with ads from TurboTax. You're competing from ads from H&R Block, who are spending millions and millions of dollars on Google AdWords. And then the other thing I'll say is, even for the clients that we've done it for, what I said earlier is, if you've done everything else we've suggested to you to build yourself up and build your practice up over time so that you're not having to pay for Google at all, that's, then you can maybe layer on some additional advertising, on top of what we, building up your site, your email marketing, your social media, all those things that are pretty cost effective, but build up you and your brand versus, paying Google so that, and once you stop paying them, you get no more traffic. So I think we completely agree on all of that. So it's something you might layer on. And then this is the other quick thing I'll say about it is, it's like a very, one of your clients trying to deal with a very complex tax problem. It's a very technical, you have to have years of training to do it well, and then, you as the accountant, you definitely, unless you want to be a Google AdWords, marketer, you're going to need to spend years learning it. And then if you try to hire someone, you need to find somebody really, really reliable. Otherwise, as Lee said, you can blow a lot of money pretty quickly on services like that. Go ahead, Lee, if you want to take another.
Sure. So Alvin had asked, I'm getting ready to build a site and I'm ready to launch my business. What hosting service would you recommend would interact with your services? While we do have a product that is non-websites, meaning you can have your own website and we will do all of the other things around it. So, the email newsletters, document sharing, social media posting, things like that. We have found that many of these sites are not built very well. They don't understand all of the on-page SEO, how things should be written, how they should be designed. You're going to get low conversion, where social proof should be, how do I get conversions to people, not necessarily just attracting them, but once they get there, how do I do that? So we do have, obviously, our own website builder. We're launching very, very soon. I keep saying it was supposed to be the 30th of November, but we have a new theme that can be fully customized that is launching probably in the next week or two, and it's something I definitely think anyone who's looking for a new website, it's kind of like taking our product to a whole new level. So it's definitely something I would recommend. We use Rackspace Hosting as our platform, very reliable, kind of the Rolls-Royce of hosting services. So it's an all-inclusive product that we try to offer, and it makes it easier for us to work with clients that we control everything, because there's nothing worse than you find some website that was built on WordPress that some client built or a family member. We talk about family members, but a family member built, and it's really hard for us to go in and edit and audit everything wrong with it and how to get it right. So we know how to. We have thousands of clients, so we see who gets traffic, who gets conversion, what are they saying, what are they using. So use our experience. I mean, it's kind of like Google. They have insight of what people, what's working, what's not. That's kind of the value we bring, is we have experience here, guys. We've been doing this for years and years and years, and we're getting better and better at it. And as we continue to build out these great tools, you're the ones that win. So, I would say I lean towards our website product, but yes, we can work with third-party sites through the other services.
Yep, and so real quick, I just want to let one or two folks ask about the time. Please do continue to stay on with us if you'd like. There's lots. Sometimes the best content comes out in the Q&A. So if you do have the time, we'd love to have you. Keep sending those questions. We'll stay here as long as you guys have questions, and we'll stay here for a while. So it is a 1-hour webinar, though, 50-minute, and it's 1 hour CPE. If you do need to drop, we do thank you for joining. We appreciate you all coming. There's great questions, and we'd love to talk to you again in the future. So please stay with us if you'd like. If you do need to drop, that's fine. Go ahead and do so. I'm going to go ahead, and there was a couple questions just about pricing for our products. If you do get the PDF download, there's a pricing table there. If you go to clientwise.com, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a pricing button there. And again, we'd love to have Steve or anybody on our team call you and reach out if you have questions about the pricing or what products best fit your practice. Feel free to do that. As Lee said, you don't have to have a website with us. We do have a la carte options. You can get TaxBuzz, you can get social media, you can get some of these other tools. Don't have to have the site, but I 100% agree. It's rare that we find any kind of a site that's super professional, has the SEO, and we manage it for you too. That's the other nice thing. You don't have to worry about it. If you have changes to your website, you just email us, or you find us on chat and you say, hey, can you add this page for me? Can you, make these changes? It's a self-serve tool, so you definitely can do it yourself as well. But it's nice to have that. There's no extra cost, and it's it starts at $69 a month, so you can't beat that. That's less than your cable bill, less than your phone bill, for the price of having an awesome system for you and automation, and saves you time and all that. Okay, so there was another question too. Program. Somebody asked about the appointment scheduling. Obviously, we have our own, and I'm going to just recommend that. There are, there's maybe 100 calendar tools out there. The nice thing about ours is that it's built right into your system. So if your client's loaded, it's easier to use. It's built right into your website. But there's lots of third-party tools out there, for appointment scheduling. And then there was one other question about the LinkedIn article. I don't know if Wendy can find it. It was about the 1-star, what happens when you get a 1-star review. And again, if you see my LinkedIn profile there, I'd be happy to connect with you, but it's there, and we can email it out as well. And I think it was, well, we'll find you. The person who had that question, we'll get you the link to the LinkedIn article about getting a 1-star review. Lee, did you want to grab another one?
Yeah, so Kenneth had asked, is TaxBuzz service duplicating what is done with ClientWise? It's actually complementing. So we use TaxBuzz. One, we believe the future is marketplace sites. So what we're trying to do is create an easier way for the consumer or business owner to connect and match up with the top-rated accounting firms. So how do we differentiate professionals? It's through reviews. It's through kind of their reputation and content, articles that they write on TaxBuzz, answering Q&A questions that come available to many users in our platform, where we reference you and publish, your answers to specific challenges or questions that we have. And all of this drives traffic and builds up kind of your reputation. But we use TaxBuzz as, that's what it is. It's showcasing your expertise. It's a third-party site that, we verify reviews. So if they're clients of yours, we will say verified client. If you have done a background screening, which I think is a huge deal, I know a lot of people when they first start out, they're doing their background screen, but the reality is there's a lot of fraud, there's a lot of untrustworthy people. We do background screening on certain client levels to really differentiate you to the consumer. So make them feel much more comfortable that you are trustworthy, you're someone that knows what you're doing. So we use TaxBuzz to help your SEO rankings. So a lot of the content, inbound links from TaxBuzz to your website. People that are on our higher end service, we do a lot of posting of content through blog articles, things like that. We share it on social media. A lot of inbound links occur, where we are, we have inbound links from Forbes or Huffington Post or, Inc. or whatever. So, there's a lot of traffic that comes through there, and all of that, the more mentions that you have of your brand online on an authority site like TaxBuzz, the better it actually is for your own brand and your own website rankings. So they work together, and we will continue to expand that as we grow. I mean, we went from 0 visitors in 2014 when we launched to over 1 million visitors last year. We'll do over 2 million this year, and I think we're kind of in the beginning of the hockey stick of taking off, where this will be a significant marketplace. And those that have been spending the time and joining us in the beginning, are already reaping new clients. We've scheduled tens of thousands of appointments directly through TaxBuzz. So it's definitely something that we use as a tool that you cannot get from your website alone. It's very difficult for a small brand to compete with the bigger brands. And with TaxBuzz, we help control that. We're not relying on a Thumbtack or a Yelp or someone else who has they make their money from a different person. It's consumers, ad-driven. We make our money, and our business is built on you doing better, finding you new clients, really helping your practice succeed. So I think, that's kind of the differentiator, but that's why TaxBuzz exists and, kind of how we use it.
Okay, great. And so there was a couple of questions on there that are, I'll summarize them, but they're similar, and it might be similar to Ken's there as well. But it was just, do I need a website? And then the things like, well, I've got a lot of clients. I don't really need a whole lot of new clients. I don't need to grow right now. So similar questions around, do I really need to do online marketing? I think it's sort of the theme. And so there were a couple of folks, and I forget, I'll go back to the list and see if I can find who they were, but thank you for those questions if it was you. Look, it's a critical part of your business, and it's pretty cost effective, and you can have companies like us that can manage it so you don't have to worry about it. So it's frankly not a cost issue. I mean, it shouldn't be. And it's not a concern and technical issue, because you can have people who can help you. So we're always going to say, yes, you do need a website, you do need some core marketing in place, you do need to be paying attention to social media, and you do need to get reviews, and those are all critical things. Even if you have a client base now, what happens if you start losing people? Or what happens if you want to just grow a different type of a client? Or you move offices and now you need to change everything that's on the internet. There's lots of reasons that you need to have all of these things in place. Efficiency. I mean, even if you're just dealing with the clients you have, to have an automated email, to have a client portal, these kinds of calendar scheduling, it's more of an efficiency thing. So the answer we're always going to give is yes, you absolutely should. As Lee said, if you really have either tight on budget or you don't have a website, TaxBuzz is a great option. It's free, by the way. The profile's free, and then somebody had asked about that question too. It's free to claim your profile, to build it out, to get reviews. If you want to, as Lee said, get the badge and get more traffic and get more leads and show up more and more on the site, absolutely recommend it. It's pretty affordable, $199 a month, but it is free if you wanted to get your TaxBuzz profile claimed. But you do need something. You need to start somewhere. If you don't already have a presence, these things are just critical. It is the way of the future, so you just got to do it. Lee, you want to grab another one?
Yeah, I think we still have almost 200 people left, but let's answer a couple more and then wrap it up. This is a good one, and it basically says, I have good reviews on Google. Edward asked this, but I have 2 bad reviews on Yelp. The ones on Yelp are bogus, and I think by a competitor. How can I counteract that? I have written to Yelp, and they will not do anything. Well, they will not do anything because it is a public forum, obviously, and this sums it up why we do what we do. You want to be ahead of this. A, and 2, Yelp does suppress. What we have found is Yelp suppresses, their algorithm suppresses a lot of reviews that tax accounting professionals get. And the reason they do that is most of your clients are not active Yelpers, meaning we're not food critics. We don't go to every restaurant or club, and it's not a social thing for us. And their algorithm kind of rewards the heavy Yelpers, the heavy users. So when one of your clients goes in who only leaves 1 review ever, they'll flag your review and they might suppress it, so it might be hidden. So what do you do when first of all, if you get bad reviews, you should have been, if listening to us, been proactive and already had 5 to 10 5-star reviews that really, come on, let's be real. Clients can see through, they know not everyone's going to be happy. They know there might be a bad apple, and it might actually give more credibility to your reviews that they're real. What we have found is, and I forget, it was one of the Intuit products, but they had a service helping get reviews, and they were so bad, they all seemed bogus. Every review you read was very short. There was no real client, stories. And what is different in the way we do things is we get really solid reviews for our clients that, basically they do the selling for you. They are, kind of validating anything you would ever say on your website or anything about your experience. They're saying, hey, this person is responsive. This person, is knowledgeable. This person is there for me all the time. And it shows the relationship side, and it makes it more human. And making it more human is what is going to make you connect with more clients. So to answer the question, yeah, Yelp's not going to take the bad reviews down. But what I would do is I would go after my client base, people I know and trust, and try to get some 5-star reviews on your Yelp and really on a TaxBuzz or Google site, because if you get enough reviews on our site, for example, we'll jump Yelp and the negative reviews in the search engine ranking. So you can actually push your bad reviews on Yelp down. That's a whole nother seminar or webinar, but I kind of wanted to address that as much as I can. But that's kind of the problem with suppressing 5-star reviews, and then worse yet, if you haven't been proactive on getting reviews before, this is now you're reactive versus proactive. So it's kind of this question almost summarizes the entire webinar, is why you need to build a 5-star practice. You need to be on your game and get it ahead of time so that this type of problem doesn't exist.
Yep. And yeah, thanks, Edward, for that question. And he also just followed it up with, how do I get reviews on multiple sites? And so, you can send them links. Google is really a tough one. To send a link to your clients with your Google My Business page is really, really difficult. They made it really difficult to do it. We do it for our clients. And if you have a TaxBuzz profile, or you wanted to, work with us a little bit, even if it's a free profile, we can try to guide you on it. But with our system, it's actually built right in. So there's an email that goes out to your clients. It has links. Again, we recommend TaxBuzz and Google to start mainly because of the reason that Lee mentioned. Yelp buries 30 to, I've seen it as high as 80 to 90% of the reviews that some of our clients have gotten on Yelp get hidden by Yelp because their clients aren't Yelpers. It's pretty high percentage of people who won't ever see that review, which is discouraging to your clients and all that. So yes, later on, or if you do get a bad one and you need to counter it on Yelp, we recommend that. Otherwise, we recommend really starting with Google. That's a great one. Obviously, TaxBuzz, please, Google and TaxBuzz are the 2 that we recommend. Yelp and others later on, you can definitely do that as well. We have an automated email. You can send an email to your clients. Ours is nice because it just has little buttons that they can click on. It makes it really easy. And by the way, the TaxBuzz one for them is free. They don't have to create an account. Google, they obviously have to have a Google account. Yelp, the same thing. They have to have a Yelp account, and if they're not Yelpers, it's going to get hidden. And Lee, did you want to grab any others, or does it look like we've addressed most of them at this point?
Yeah, I think I mean, a lot of it's kind of redundant questions. So yeah, I think we've addressed most. Anything that we haven't that seems to be a little more personal, I think we'll just go through these and reach out to you offline, because there's definitely some here that people ask a few questions. I think it's something we would want to address one-on-one.
Yep, we'd love to. Oh, and sorry, I did see the one about the landing page from Donna. Donna, thanks for all the great questions. I wouldn't recommend it to be the front-facing brand of your site. For some advertising, landing pages are great. For like a blog type thing, we actually have you can call it a landing page. It's called TaxBuzz Promote. It's a great little tool to promote something like a discount or an event that you have or a blog. So ask us about TaxBuzz Promote. That's a great addition. I wouldn't use that as a replacement for a website. For certain things, if you want to sign people up for a webinar or things like that, you can use landing pages. I also did want to note that a lot of people had asked about that article that I mentioned about the 1-star reviews on Yelp. So I did post that to the chat, the blog article on LinkedIn that I did a little while back. So that's great. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up then. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate all the awesome questions, and we'd love to talk to you more. And so feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to work with you. Lee, did you want to closing thoughts?
No, that's it. Thanks again for everyone. That was a great attendance, and people that stayed through, really appreciate it. So hopefully hear from you soon.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and have a great Christmas, holidays. Happy New Year to you all, and I hope you have an awesome tax season. Look forward to seeing you out there again soon. Thanks again for joining.